What's up, gamers? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we are going to try to be beating over OVO before my friends explain the product and the quotient rule. Alright, let's get started.
Product rule is a simple way to do derivatives, where you have two functions multiplying each other. This can be written as f of x equals g of x times h of x. The general equation for this is f prime of x equals g prime of x times h of x plus g of x times h prime of x. The way that we get this is a handy-dandy chart. For the chart, you write g of x on the left and h of x on the right. Then write the derivatives under each. So g prime of x under g of x and h prime of x under h of x. Then you multiply going up diagonally, getting g prime of x times h prime of x. Then you add to the product going diagonally down. So you get g of x times h prime of x. This gets you the final equation of f prime of x equals g prime of x times h of x plus g of x times h prime of x.
In the first problem, we have the product rule question. We are given the equation f of x equals x squared plus 7 times 3x minus 6, and asked to find the derivative. You can think of it as two separate functions, written in the generic form f of x equals g of x times h of x, with g of x being x squared plus 7, and h of x being 3x minus 6. Then we will use the general equation f prime of x equals g prime of x times h of x plus g of x times h prime of x. First, the derivative of g of x, which is g prime of x equals 2x. And then we have h prime of x, which is h prime of x equals 3. Once we plug into the original function and derivatives in the general equation, we get f prime of x equals 2x times 3x minus 6 plus x squared plus 7 times 3. Simplifying, we get 6x squared minus 12x plus 3x squared plus 21, which equals 9x squared minus 12x plus 21. In the next problem, we will be covering another product rule question. We are given the equation f of x equals 7x squared times cosine x, and asked to find the derivative. You can think of it as two separate functions, written in the generic form f of x equals g of x times h of x, with g of x being 7x squared and h of x being cosine x. Then we will use the general equation f prime of x equals g prime of x times h of x plus g of x times h prime of x. First, we take the derivative of g of x, which is g prime of x equals 14x, and h of x, which is h prime of x equals negative sine of x. Once we plug in the original function and derivatives into the general equation, we get f prime of x equals 14x times cosine x plus 7x squared times negative sine x. Simplifying, we get 14x times cosine x minus 7x squared times sine of x.
Quotient rule is a derivative tool to use when you have one function over another function. The general equation for this tool, given f of x equals g of x over h of x, is f prime of x equals g prime of x times h of x minus h prime of x times g of x over h of x squared. Important rule, h of x may not equal 0, because you can't take the derivative of something that's over 0. You can use the chart once more to take the derivatives, so g of x, g prime of x, h of x, h prime of x. You multiply going up and then subtract going down, and then again you just put the whole thing over h of x squared. In this problem, we're given f of x equals 3x squared plus 5x over x cubed plus 2. So we can split the function into g of x, the top, and h of x, the bottom. Then we use the equation f prime of x equals g prime of x times h of x minus h prime of x over times g of x all over h of x squared. So we need to take both the derivatives of g of x and h of x and make g prime of x and h prime of x. G prime of x being 6x plus 5 and h of x, which is h prime of x equals 3x squared. Plugging the base functions and derivatives into the general equation, we get that f prime of x equals 6x plus 5 times x cubed plus 2 minus 3x squared plus 5x times 3x squared all over x cubed plus 2 squared.
Welcome back to my perspective, gamers. That's right, I'm playing both sides, so that way I always win. In this problem, we are given the equation f of x equals negative cosine x over x to the power of 4/3. So, we need to use the chart to help us with the problem. So, negative cosine x is going to go right here, and then x to the power of 4/3 is going to go right here. So, we're going to take the derivative of both sides. So, negative cosine x is going to turn into sine x, and x to the power of 4/3 is going to turn into 4/3 to the power of 1/3. We need to multiply up going diagonally, which is sine x times x to the 4/3, which simplifies into x cube root x sine x. Then we subtract multiplying diagonally down. So this is negative cosine x times 4/3 x to the 1/3, which simplifies down into adding 4/3 cube root x cosine x. Then we draw a line under all of it, square x to the 4/3, which is x to the 8/3. Now, this is a fine equation. However, we can simplify it. There's a cube root x here, a cube root x here, and a hidden cube root x right here. So we can cancel out all of the cube root x's. So now we have x sine x plus 4/3 cosine of x over x to the power of 7/3. Now, this is also a fine equation, but we need to multiply by 3 so that there's not a fraction in here. So we get our final answer of
f prime of x equals 3 sine of x plus 4 cosine of x over 3x to the 7/3.
In the last problem, we have h of x equals sine x to the power of 4 times 3 to the power of x all over x to the power of 5 plus 8 to 8 times x to the power of 3. First, we will split the top and bottom into two different functions. F of x is the top, g of x is the bottom. We will take the derivative of these two functions and get f prime of x equals 4 times x to the power of 3 times cosine x to the power of 4 times 3 to the power of x, plus sine x to the power of 4 natural log of 3 times 3 to the power of x. And this is obviously using the product rule. And for g of x, we will have just 5 times x to the power of 4 plus 24 times x to the power of 2. Now we use the quotient rule to solve this equation, which is h of x equals f prime of x times g of x minus f of x times g prime of x all over g of x to the power of 2. So substituting this all in, we get h of x equals 4 times x to the power of 3 cosine x to the power of 4 times 3 to the power of x, plus sine x to the power of 4 natural log of 3 to the power of times 3 to the power of x. This is all multiplied by x to the power of 5 plus 8x to the power of 2. Minus sine x to the power of 4 times 3 to the power of x times 5x to the power of 4 plus 24x to the power of 2. This is all divided by x to the power of 5 plus 8x to the power of 3 to the power of 2.
Alright, so I did not happen to beat OVO during this time, but I'm hoping that you all learned something new. I'll see you next time when I try to beat OVO before we explain the chain rule.